All right, everyone, we're back. A Dinosaurs Story was a fantastic 90s animated film. John Goodman plays a T-Rex. Great times had by all. Yup. Alright, so this will be One Piece chapter 1107 review, titled, I've Been Looking for You! Oh my goodness, is this finally the chapter where the most missing person of the One Piece story finally shows back up? That's right, you know who I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. We're waiting for this guy to make a comeback big time. Let's go for Gin! Yay! Everybody that misses Gin, everybody there's some dude, you know there's somebody somewhere that's sitting around every chapter of One Piece like, please let this be the chapter Gin's back. No, maybe this is the chapter. He's held on for as long as this happened. He's gonna show back up someday, guys. Trust me. Trust me. He's gonna show back up. I am waiting for the inevitable SBS question where somebody is just like, hey, Oda, whatever happened to Gin? And Oda's just like, he died. And that's it. That's all I want Oda to say about it. Like, he died. Obviously, he's not showing back up, guys. He's not at Laugh Tale. Anyway, cover page is pretty fun. We got Law and Beppo hanging out in the mountains. There's a snow leopard that I don't understand what Beppo is trying to do in this cover page. I really don't. So you have a snow leopard. I just noticed Law has a big bottle of vodka next to him, so I guess they got drunk. And so Law's asleep and the snow leopard's asleep. And Beppo has taken, like, a funnel and put the funnel in the mouth of the sleeping snow leopard and appears to be about to pour boiling water from a tea kettle into the funnel, which will then go into the mouth of the snow leopard. And then he's holding a baseball bat over him. So I don't know if this is a thing or a reference to something that I don't get. But why is Beppo about to pour boiling water or tea into the mouth of this poor snow leopard and then smack him over the head with the baseball bat? If Beppo was gonna hurt the snow leopard, you think he would just use the baseball bat? What's with that? This is like a torture method, Beppo. What are you doing, man? I don't know if you can see him in frame, but Beppo's down here. It's like, okay, I don't get it. Somebody explain that to me, why Beppo is like trying to kill a snow leopard. Okay, in the most horrible way possible. All right. So, chapter continues on where we left off, and where did we leave off? We left off with the giant warrior pirates. Actually, we get a title card for their crew, and it's an awesome double-page spread, ladies and gentlemen. We see Oimo and Kashi as well. I was thinking they were also going to be hanging out with Dory and Broggy. Like, that was a big boat for just Dory and Broggy to be hanging out on. All right, so we see a bunch of the giant warrior pirates, but the title card actually just says giant pirate crew. So maybe the literal, it's giant warrior pirates, but like it just like Oda actually writes giant pirate crew. So whatever, we could cut out the warrior. It doesn't matter. They're just giants. All right. So, Oimo and Kashi are given orders from Dory and Broggy to be like, oh yeah, you guys take care of the boats off to the side. Watch out for the cannonballs. And above all, just have a good time, men. And we see some other giants and they're jumping off and they're all ripped. The Marines are over their comm systems, the Den Den Mushi, and they're like, oh my God, it's the giant warrior pirates. Where have they been all of these years? Oh my God, some of the old crew members are there too. We don't get the names of anybody else. I was actually looking for a very specific member other than Dory, Broggy, Oimo, and Kashi. There's a giant by the name of, I think, Raiden, and we see him actually training Hiruden during the Elbaf flashback with Big Mom. And so he has like a helmet with like goggles, and he was like training Hiruden to be a giant warrior and stuff like that. And in the flashback at Little Garden, we see a giant that looks a lot like Raiden. So I assumed, or Raiden might be his name, and I assumed that it's the same character, although it's not confirmed that it is, but it might be. So I was actually looking specifically for that guy, because that would be an interesting little side thing, but I don't see him. I see there's a dude that has a long, like, mullet. He has, like, 80s rocker hair, and he's got huge muscles, and he's just like, yes! They're getting the band back together. This is a fantastic time. I would imagine there are some old members of the Giant Warrior Pirates back when Dory and Broggy were the captains. There might be some new members members on here too. We don't see the new giant warrior pirates like Hirudin and Stanson or anything in this chapter. They're not involved with this, but you know, they might show up later. They're definitely going to show up at Elbaf, I would assume. But anyway, yeah, it's crazy to know that even the Marines, because these Marines that are there at Egghead right now, they don't remember the giant warrior pirates. They were not alive 100 years ago. You know, nobody here other than Saturn would have been alive during that time period. It was over a century ago, right? So, yeah, it's crazy that the giant warrior pirates have lived that much in the history of the Marines. Like, the Marines probably learn about them in their history books of like, yeah, there were these, there was this crew called the Giant Pirate Crew, or the Giant Warrior Pirates 100 years ago, and they just left destruction and devastation, and the Marines really couldn't do anything to stop them. And then eventually their captains just disappeared one day, and then, you know, we were able to round a few of them up and throw them at Marineford. That was when Mother Caramel stepped in and like stopped the execution. That was only like 4 or 5 of the Giants, though. They didn't all get captured there. But it still lives on, where even these Marines now that are making this announcement, they know Dory and Broggy. They are legends. Like, oh my god, it's Red Ogre Broggy and Blue Ogre Dory and some other members of the Giant Warrior Pirates. Oh my god, where have they been? It's like legends, okay? It's crazy. So, they have made landfall. They just start smashing the battleships. And dude, it's like 1 giant per battleship. Like, we see a dude jump off of the Viking longship, take out like a club, like a cudgel or something, and just boom, slam it right into a Marine battleship, and it cracks in half. It's just gone. Okay? So, yeah, there's 100 Marine battleships of varying sizes. Yeah, these giants are gonna make quick work of that. If just one of them in one attack is able to just completely obliterate a battleship or damage it to the point where it can no longer, you know, float, yeah, this is going to be pretty quick. We see them storming the island. So, Dory and Broggy, they're on Egghead. Like, they've made landfall, and they're just charging in. Not even charging in. They look like they're having a jovial good time, you know? Like, Dory just has his sword, and he's like, you know, Broggy's like, ha-ha! It's like, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, fantastic time. They're having a good moment. They got the band back together, you know what I mean? It's great. So, we cut to the Labo phase, where we see Usopp with a pair of binoculars, and I'm so glad Oda took the time to focus on Usopp's reaction to this. I'm glad the first reaction we have of this, other than the scared Marines that are, you know, pissing themselves in terror right now, is Usopp, who probably, granted, is also pissing himself in terror right now, but not for the piss goes back inside of him once he sees Dory and Broggy. So he looks down, he sees Dory and Broggy, and Usopp is like, ah, my masters, Dory and Broggy, the bosses are finally here, woo! And now, obviously, you know, Usopp is with Chopper and Nami. Chopper actually wouldn't know about Dory and Broggy because he joined right after Little Garden, but he does recognize Oimo and Kashi from Enies Lobby. Nami recognizes Dory and Broggy, obviously. Edison is also there, you know, just observing everything, right? So, they kind of extrapolate that, like, oh, weren't they on Little Garden? And I guess Nami's like, well, I guess Oimo and Kashi would have went back and picked them up after, I suppose. The idea that we understand so far is after the events of Enies Lobby, after Oimo and Kashi were told by Sage King, it was very nice that Sage King knew Usopp, and Usopp told Sage King about the whole events of Little Garden. So Sage King relayed that message to Oimo and Kashi, and then they went back to Water 7 briefly, and then I think they went back to Elbaf. I don't think they went to Little Garden straight from Enies Lobby, because Dory and Broggy were still fighting, like, during the time skip. But, something happened, probably with, like, the prophecy of Ragnarok, or, like, the end of days, or something. Like, I don't know, Heimdall's horn got blown, or something like that, at Elbaf. So they're like, alright, the horn's blowing, Oimo Kashi, you gotta go to Little Garden, we need Dory and Broggy for this shit. You know, the Sun God is here, we need to go and get moving, okay? So, they assume that, yeah, something at some point must have happened. They went to Little Garden, they picked up Dory and Broggy. Usopp is crying tears of relief because he's like, man, I was so excited to go to Elbaf. Apparently we're going there next. I was worried we weren't going to see Dory and Broggy, right? So, this is fantastic for Usopp, because he was like, oh man, I won't get to see, you know, the giant bros again, you know, that'd be neat. So we do get a little bit of a single panel of a refresher on Little Garden, and it's a very quick refresher. It's just, long ago, there was a giant warrior pirate crew that terrorized the world. Dory and Broggy got into a, you know, quarrel at one point, and it broke up. Then later, Luffy helped them out at Little Garden, and Luffy and Usopp and everybody helped them out at Little Garden, and everything was great. They actually did, Oda did draw Vivi there, which is cute. And they also just mentioned Oimo and Kashi, like, oh, by the way, there was another incident where they ran into Oimo and Kashi. It's like, honestly, at this point, Oda could just be like, read Little Garden, go back and read like volume like 14 of the story. You'll get brought up to speed pretty quick. Little Garden is not a long arc. I'm really excited to see how they're going to handle it in the live action, though, like the giants and everything. So we'll see where that goes there. So Edison brings up that, like, oh my goodness, oh, they're really giving it to the Marines down there. You know, you guys know each other. That's so neat. That's convenient. Didn't know that. All right, cool. The Giants are helping us out now. So they're talking a little bit about exactly how they found out we're here. And that's when, like, the Straw Hats find out about the news. Like, they didn't know they were big news, but they're big news. It's like, Edison's like, well, you know, all the events of this island, they mobilized like 100 Marine battleships for this. It obviously made the papers. You know, now, granted, the way that the World Economic Times is going to be painting all of this is that the Marines are the good guys. They probably phrased the article something like, you know, oh, some horrible dastardly deeds are going on in Egghead. You know, Vegapunk is actually this cruel mastermind that's trying to take over the world with his robot army, and those brave Marines mobilized got their best of the best to go and fight him. You know, it's probably something like that, but it certainly made the papers, and it's certainly there. So Usopp realizes, wait a minute, they didn't come here to wage war. It's not like the giant warrior pirates are here to like fight the Marines directly. I mean, they are, but they're there more specifically to pick them up. So Usopp figures this out right away. He's like, we got to get going. Are we ready to go? Because we got to get going. They are risking their lives to be here to pick us up. We don't want to keep them waiting. It's not like, you know, hey, Straw Hats, where are you at? Go, blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, yeah, Dory, Bragi, you got to wait. We're not ready to go yet. Zoro's still fighting a leopard guy. I don't know where Jinbei went. Robin is sedated. She's asleep. Luffy and Sanji and Frankie are fighting a Gorosei. So, you know, can you give us like an hour or two? No, Usopp's like, let's get moving. What's going on here? So they contact Brook. Brook and Lilith are having their little adventure where Brook has frozen the island cloud to position the Sunny to get that into place. The problem is they can't get it to stop. It's like on a sled and it's like going up and down the frozen island cloud. And Brook is there and just like sipping some tea, just like, oh yes, hello Usopp. Yes, we're moving the Sunny into position, but we unfortunately won't even be able to stop for tea. And then Lilith is like, we do need to stop. That's the problem. Anyway, yeah, this skeleton guy literally doesn't have a brain. And probably Brook is in the background like, well, of course I don't have a brain. I'm a skeleton. I have a tone dial for a brain. Yo-ho-ho-ho-ho! Oh, we're gonna die. You know, so Lilith is like, yeah, that's the problem. We're gonna fly off the Labophase and slam into the Frontier Dome and get nuked by a bunch of laser grids. So can we please figure something out here? Lilith does say, like, hey, pay attention. I'm gonna tell you something. So Lilith, being a Vegapunk, has probably a plan for like, all right, I have a plan on how to stop the Sunny, but you gotta listen to this, you know, do A, B, and C, and then you'll be able to do this. Okay, so I'm sure, like, the Sunny's not gonna fly off the side and get nuked by lasers. They're gonna figure out some way to stop it, right? So that'll probably be Usopp, Nami, Edison, Chopper's job is to slow down the Sunny somehow. Cutting back to Jinbei, he's on his way to go and stop the fight between Zoro and Lucci. He's not even there yet, okay? He's getting close, though, and he's hearing the fight, and Jinbei's like, oh, it seems like Zoro's getting all excited. We gotta get moving, though. We don't have time to be picking fights in the schoolyard, Zoro, okay? I also like that Jinbei has gotten really used to using the Dom shoes, like the hover boots that they're all using, and I think for Jinbei this would actually be really easy to pick up because, you know, he's a fishman, so he can swim in the water really well. I would imagine using the hover shoes probably like a similar method of swimming, right? You're just like swimming through the air. You just have a piece of propulsion to get you off the ground. So he, you know, took to it pretty quickly. Took to it like a fish in water, I would say. Yes, okay. So we do get to see Zoro versus Lucci. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the fight between Zoro and Lucci, oh my god, it is still happening, fairly ordinary. A lot of people were expecting it to be like a one-sided thing in both directions. I've seen people like, oh yeah, Zoro's just gonna and then just cut Lucci apart. I've heard other people saying, oh no man, Lucci's gonna be the one to actually fight Zoro and beat him down. I mean, like, okay, here are the facts. Here's the facts of the situation, ladies and gentlemen, all right? Zoro is fighting with Nitoryu. He's using two swords. I believe Enma, and I don't think he has the Watto out. No, he has the Watto on his back. So he's using Enma and the Sandai. He does not have his bandana on. He's not using Ashura. He's not exuding Conqueror's Haki or anything like that. Lucci is in his Awakened Zone form. He's using his Awakened Leopard, and he's fighting him. They are clashing with, like, Armament Haki. You see, you know, his claw attacking Enma and, like, you know, electricity firing off and everything. The basic gist of their dialogue is... It really does kind of seem like Zoro is like, yeah, you're nothing to me, Lucci. It's time to wrap this up. And then Lucci's like, oh, well, you know, I'm the one delaying you, and the longer you stay here fighting me, the longer your friends can't leave. So you're basically dead weight as long as I'm fighting you here. So the way that I'm getting this, and you do see a close-up of Zoro, and he does look pretty pissed, and he's kind of sweating a little bit, but, like, Zoro is not using 3 swords. Zoro is not using Ashura. Like, I feel like if Zoro busted out that Dead Man's Game shit, he could probably deal a pretty crushing blow to Lucci in that form. And he's not even there yet. You know, this is not Zoro fighting King level. He doesn't even have the bandana on, which is basically the metric for whether or not Zoro is taking a fight 100% or 99% is the bandana, right? You know, Lucci is goading him. That is kind of what his thing is. He's goading him to try to maybe make him mad or make him, like, feel like he's dead weight. Those fools will never make it if they can't cut off the arm to save the body. Giving up now would be doing them a favor. Waiting for a corpse is pointless. So he's kind of like, Zoro, you're gonna die anyway. Just make it quick. You know, I don't know. I don't know if Lucci is aware that Zoro's not really giving it his all right now, because he's clearly not. You know, you see Zoro and Ashura, then I will admit that he's giving it his all. He's not giving it his all here, okay? So, you know, I don't know. Zoro, if nothing else, this conversation's probably just gonna get Zoro to that point where he's like, okay, you want me to finish this up quick? You can't finish it quick. Oh, you sure about that? You sure about that? I'm sure about that. If you could finish it that quickly, you would have done it already. All right, you leopard son of a bitch. Let's... Ashura! You know, it's like, there you go. Like, I think that's gonna be pretty much it. We're gonna end this out, you know, next chapter. Or Jinbei shows up, and then it's Jinbei and Zoro versus Lucci. Like, there's no way Lucci's making out of this. Maybe he won't die, but, like, you know, this fight's gonna get taken care of one way or the other after Jinbei arrives, okay? There's just no way, even with an Awakened Zone, that Lucci's gonna deal with Zoro plus Jinbei. It's just not happening, okay? Anyway, we cut back down to the fabrication phase. So the Mark IIIs are now under the control of Bonnie, and she gave the order to annihilate the fleet, and even Saturn can't override that, so that's why he stabbed Vegapunk. So the Mark IIIs are now just bombarding the Marine battleships, and so they're like, okay, so we actually have a name of a new Marine. We have Vice Admiral Jowls, the guy with the multiple chins. Yeah, so his name is Vice Admiral Red King. It is a reference to a kaiju monster from Ultraman. You guys know Ultraman, right? The tokusatsu show, kind of like Super Sentai, not really, but in the same vein. It's a tokusatsu. It's in the same vein as, like, Super Sentai. I've only watched a little bit of Ultraman. I actually don't know. Can Ultraman, is it a guy that transforms in? I don't think it is. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's like this Godzilla monster that has, like, multiple chins. That's basically this guy's reference from what Oda's going for here. So he seems to be pretty smart, because he's like, all right, you know, all the smaller battleships that don't have as heavy artillery, move back from the island, because you're just going to get laser nuked, and that's not going to be fun. All the bigger battleships move in and bombard and try to take care of the pacifistas. You know, I'm also reminded at this point, and they do score a hit on one. They do hit one dead on, and it does fall back. So it is interesting to note that when the pacifistas were first introduced, way back at Sabaody, it was mentioned that one pacifista, the cost to make one, is equivalent to one Navy battleship. And the whole, like a big one, like a Buster Call ship. And the idea was the pacifistas are battleships on land. They've been compared with the same raw power as a Marine battleship, except obviously smaller and can move on land and has greater mobility, you know, because a battleship's not as quick as moving around and, like, firing lasers and stuff. So, you know, the idea of, like, one Buster Call big-ass Marine battleship versus a pacifista, it should be, in theory, relatively equal, because that's the whole point of the Pacifista program, right? So Red King is ordering those to attack. We now cut over to the situation with Saturn, all right? And you know what? I'm actually starting to feel bad for Saint Saturn here. Yeah, that's right, you heard me. Think about what this guy's got to go through, okay? He had to descend from Marijois into the lower realm, and he had to turn into a spider, and all these people aren't listening to him, and they're less than insects to this guy, and he's just like, why am I still here? Why are we still doing this? This should have been wrapped up like 15 chapters ago. All right, whatever. Oh, and now this kid. Now Luffy's up there as the sun god. It's just, you gotta, you know, Saturn is really the main character of One Piece now. You gotta feel for him. You really do. Anyway, Luffy's up there bouncing around in the sky. Bonnie is weeping, and she's just like, oh, I've been waiting so long for you. And Luffy's just like, haha, why are you crying so much, Bonnie? You know, it's interesting because Vegapunk is on the ground with a giant, like, abdominal wound bleeding out all over the place. And, you know, Bonnie's crying, but not because of that, but because she's been waiting for Luffy. So I find that kind of humorous, that just like, Vegapunk, no, you're dying. It'll be okay, Bonnie. Oh my god, Mika. It's like, okay, I guess worry about that instead. Oh god, I'm bleeding. Okay, so there's an interaction between Luffy where he's in the sky and he's all careless, and, you know, he's the sun god, right? He's Gear 5th. So Bonnie's like, I've been waiting for you. That's where the title of the chapter comes from. And Luffy's like, well, what do you mean? You've been waiting for me? I've been hanging out with you for like the last 2 days. We've been on the island or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but you're the sun god Nika. I didn't know that. And then Luffy's like, what's that? The sun god? I've never heard of that. Anyway, what was up with that weak ass punch you threw earlier? And Bonnie's like, well, I was trying to mimic you. I was trying to do the same thing with the punch. And if you're the real sun god, maybe you could show me how it's really done. And Luffy's like, haha, good point. I'm gonna try that, right? And so now Saturn is moving, and he's just like, okay, you know, you guys, all right, I'm just gonna take out you one by one and just like boom, 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 and then call it a day, right? So Luffy's charging up his attack. Saturn uses his glare. Disapproving grandfather glare. And it does hit Luffy, and it hits him, and it bounces his head back like he just got punched in the jaw or something. And you see a little bit of blood, but Luffy just comes right back, and it's just like, you're gonna pay for hurting my friends. Gamu Gamu no Dawn Gatling, and just here comes multiple giant fists. That's your problem, Bonnie. You only used one giant fist. You were supposed to use like at least 6. Boom, 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 and he just Dawn Gatlings the crap out of Saturn, hits Saturn's face, he starts spitting up blood, and he gets sent flying through another building to another point of the island. We're gonna cut back to see what's up with Saturn in a moment here, okay? So he just finishes off like a strong, oh, that's actually a really cool way that Luffy does that. He like takes his arm and he like spins it all the way around like multiple times, and then boom! You know, final blow. I got dizzy there. Final blow against Saturn knocks him through a skyscraper. Frankie's there and is like, okay, that's cool. Luffy's got Saturn. Fight starting there. Bonnie, we need to go. And Atlas is like, hey, the hover shoes, the Dom shoes should still work as long as we're on the island. You know, if we get outside the island, they don't function anymore. But as long as we're on the island, they should be fine. Let's get out of here. And they're about to take Vegapunk, but Vegapunk's on the ground, the Stella body, and he's just like, go on without me. I am a medical doctor among all things, and yeah, I know if I move from this spot, I'm dead. You know, I'm gonna lose way too much blood, so just get on without me. So Vegapunk has kind of come to terms with the fact that he's gonna die, I guess. He looks pretty weak. When Luffy was jumping around the sky, he did have like a weak smile of like, that's good. But yeah, if moving right now is not a good idea. So Kizaru shows up and he's like, all right, well, if you're not gonna move, I'm just gonna finish this off really quick. We've already given up on Kizaru. Kizaru he's made his decision. He's going with it. Right here, he's trying to kill Bonnie. There's no more like, oh, well, maybe he's not really trying to do this. I think he is kind of closing his eyes, though, when we see the shot with him, like, about to fire the laser at Bonnie and Kizaru. Bonnie at Vegapunk, he's kind of, like, closing his eyes, so maybe he doesn't want to see himself kill them. But then, when he fires the laser, Sanji steps in, and then, boom, kicks the laser, disperses it, so he blocks the attack. Kizaru is shocked. He's like, what? And Frankie's like, and everybody's like, what? And then Sanji's like, light doesn't hold a candle to the power of love. Or I guess rather more specifically in this case, Sanji's act of chivalry, you know, is like anything hitting a woman, so he's gonna like protect her. This interesting that everybody is reacting this way to Sanji kicking a laser, because he actually did kick a laser in the last chapter too. He got hit by a few of them, but if the way I'm looking at that panel was correct, he got hit by a couple, but he did manage to kick one, because you do see him kicking a laser in the last chapter and the light like dispersing when he kicks it. Like there's an impact of it, right? And so he does the same thing here, and it's like, what? Maybe they didn't get a chance to see it last time because everything was in chaos, kind of falling from the sky and everything like that. But it is funny that Sanji's like, yeah, I could kick light now. Oh, by the way, Sanji's eyebrow also changes. And I think Oda's going to do that on purpose from now on, like whenever he switches over from like, you know, regular Sanji to like battle mode, let's get moving, like the eyebrows are going to switch. That's going to be a little bit of a difficult thing for Oda to keep track of. So I don't know, but good on him for doing it, whatever. Anyway, Kizaru has a line here which I find so funny after Sanji like kicks light and he's like, well, guess I'm gonna have to scrap the physics book, or I guess, you know, your power works against physics, you're able to kick light. And I'm like, okay, now we're bringing physics into this, really? Now Kizaru's gonna bring up physics. Like, Kizaru, if you could like, if this worked the way that physics work in our world, maybe physics are different in the One Piece world, right? But like, even so, I'm pretty sure any of Kizaru's light speed attacks, if they truly were light speed, would not only destroy things that they're aiming at, but anything around them. Like, okay, I'm not a physicist, I don't know. Let's say, you know, Kizaru picked up a rock, like a little pebble, and then threw it at light speed. I'm pretty sure not only would it destroy anything it hit, but anything around the area would be obliterated with light speed. So we're getting into this now. It's like, it's hockey. Hockey and willpower, and Sanji also has like Germa exoskeleton technology in him and whatever. Sanji can kick lights. I don't think anybody should really be that shocked by it at this point. We've seen Pacifista lasers get blocked or deflected before. I'd have to go back and actually check to see how many times that happens. I think Kuma deflects one of them with his paw powers. Like, we've seen Devil Fruit powers interact with Pacifista lasers. You know, has anybody straight up just, like, punched a laser and stopped it? Or in Sanji's case, like, kicked one and stopped it? I have a feeling like this is not the first time we've seen that, but, like, okay, maybe. But at any rate, it looks like Sanji's gonna go, and we are gonna get the Sanji versus Kizaru fight after all, so... okay, okie dokie. It was like kind of like a misdirect last time. Like, oh, we are going to get the fight. Oh, not really. Oh, no, now we are. And they land, and Sanji lights up a cigarette, and he's just like, all right, let's get moving. And Kizaru's like, well, if I can't at least bring back the Straw Hats' heads, then I'm going to have a lot to answer for from the higher-ups. And Sanji's like, all right, well, I guess you could draft an apology letter, you know, let's go. And it's like, all right, let's go, sure. So Frankie and Bonnie and Atlas, they all leave. They're going to the Northeast Port. I guess they got to start the Rendezvous evacuation project. They left Vegapunk behind, the Stella body. The Stella's there because they know they can't move him. Like, if Atlas picks him up, he could probably die. So he's like, I can't move. So I guess they're just leaving it to Luffy and Sanji. Luffy and Sanji are staying behind. Luffy's bouncing around on the rubber world, the rubber floor that he made with his awakening as Sanji's lighting up the cigarette. So it's like, okay, the fight's on. Kizaru versus Sanji, and Luffy's here, but Vegapunk's also here, so he needs to be saved or something. I don't know. We're gonna find out. Can Luffy use his awakening to... I mean, maybe he could do this. I'm not really sure. He has access to Toon Force. He could turn Kaido's body into rubber. What if he turns Vegapunk's body into rubber, and that kind of saves it? Oh my god, this is so dumb. But, like, what if, like, okay, Vegapunk's, like, arteries and his, like, major, like, arteries and veins have been ruptured by the attack from Saturn, so he's losing a lot of blood. What if Luffy just uses his awakening to, like, grab the arteries and just tie them up? It's new. Like, it's stupid, but it's, like, it's Luffy's awakening, so he might be able to do that. Because I'm trying to think any other way where the Stella's not dying here of blood loss, because he even brought it up. Like, okay, Luffy has an awakening to change the composition of somebody's body, so maybe he could do that. But, like, man, okay, I don't know, unless Chopper shows up or something, but I think they have another problem to worry about, right? So, okay. Anyway, we now cut away to see where Saturn landed when he got, you know, knocked away through several buildings. And it turns out he lands, coincidentally, in fact, right next to Katarina Devon, or Davon. I think it's Devon. I think it is. I've been mispronouncing that the whole time, but whatever. Katarina, Devon, and Van Augur. So I was half right, okay? So it's like the Blackbeard ship showed up the day before. That was like over a year ago, I think, in the storyline that they've showed up. And it was like, okay, who's gonna be there? And it's like, all right, well, the only two captains that we haven't really seen doing anything in a while are Lafitte and Devon. So it's definitely gonna be those two. Unfortunately, I did include Augur in the possibility because Augur does have the warp fruit, so he can teleport, so he can kind of be anywhere. We actually do get a restriction to that later in the chapter, though. So Katarina Devon is there, and Van Augur is there, and they're just, wow, coincidence, just boom, Saturn just crashes down right next to him. And they have a conversation. It's not like Saturn gets up and he's like, I gotta get back to the battle. It's like, no, he just throws the rubble off of him, and Devon is there and just kind of makes a little bit of a, I think, a two-sided, like, pun kind of thing, because she says, it's not every day you see one of the 5 elders down on the dirt with the rest of us. So the idea, I think, is, for one thing, the fact that a Gorosei left Marijois to the lower realm. That does not happen very often. But also down in the dirt, as in he just got his face slammed into the ground by Luffy, right? So she brings that up. They don't really seem that surprised that he's there, which makes me think that they might have an informant on the inside, and they learned that Saturn was going to Egghead. And in addition to that, what lends credence to this is that Katarina Devon walks right up and is like, wow, you have a delicious devil fruit power, and then touches Saturn's spider leg, says mission complete. And that's kind of, that's why they were there. They were sent there specifically, I guess specifically, to copy the appearance, because Katarina Devon has the ability of the mythical Kitsune Zone, that she can change appearances. It's like the upgraded form of the Mane Mane no Mi, and it seems like the way that she does that is she has to come into physical contact. Same thing with Mr. 2 Bon Clay. We didn't know how the fruit activated before, if it's anybody she sees, or has to see a picture, or has to physically touch them. Apparently she has to physically touch them. So if Blackbeard would have found out through maybe a leak in the Marines or something that the Gorosei is leaving Marijois and heading to Egghead, Blackbeard, being Blackbeard, is like, Zehaha, we could get our hands on the appearance of a Gorosei. We shouldn't pass up this opportunity. Devon, Augur, maybe Lafitte, I'm not really sure what you're up to. Go to Egghead! You know, Lafitte's not there. We don't see him, so, but Augur's there. So, Saturn is very chill with this. He doesn't get up immediately and was like, you ants talking to me? Get away, I'm in the middle of a fight. Which I guess kind of makes sense for, like, one of the Gorosei. Like, he's not really like, I'm gonna beat up that Straw Hat Kid, I'm so mad, I'm gonna get back to the battlefield as quickly as possible. It is kind of like he's more chill, like this whole thing is beneath him, maybe because he is immortal, or nigh immortal. Like, even getting his head blown off probably wouldn't kill him, so he's just like, oh my god, this is waste of my time. Oh, great, now the Blackbeard Pirates are here. Now, what do you want? And so he begins to question, like, oh, I've never thought that you level 6 prisoners would subjugate yourself to Teach, to Blackbeard. And Katarina says, oh, it's because Teach is special. And Saturn is like, ah, yes, his lineage. I'm aware of that as well. And so, like, oh, you know about that too. Oh, your crew is always up to something or another. What do you hope to get out of this anyway? And at the same time, Katarina and Augur's just kind of chilling on a rock. Like, they are so chill in this whole scenario. Like, they are not afraid of the giant spider guy. So here's the kicker. And this is kind of where this is going. So I'll just wrap up this scene. Katarina and Augur at the same time, when asked, why are you here? What are you doing this? What is Teach's ultimate goal here? What does he hope to gain? They both say, the world. And then Saturn is just like, yeah, okay, die. And then Augur uses his warp powers to teleport them away. And so that's that scene there. And Saturn is just kind of there as a spider, like, whatever, scuttle. He just, like, scuttles away, I would imagine. And then we get into the last scene of the chapter. But let me wind this back a bit. Okay. So, pretty sure Blackbeard is confirmed to be the child of rocks here. It was kind of the idea up until now, but you never know if it's like he's just carrying on the will, like Luffy's carrying on the will of Shanks and Roger, despite not being related to them. Or what, is that the same deal with Blackbeard or what? Although Blackbeard's age, you know, he was born 40 years ago, Rocks would have been active that time period, so it makes sense. So you could look at it when he says his lineage, you know, when Saturn is like, oh yes, he is special because of his lineage. You know, you could look at that, maybe are we dealing with like Blackbeard is a buccaneer kind of thing, like could be referring to, you know, Blackbeard's race, like is he a buccaneer or is he something else, you know, something like that. Or it could be a situation like his direct lineage, like his father or grandfather or something like that. That's the way I'm interpreting this right now. Because when asked what they're doing, what their goal is, they say the world. Well, rather, you know what, now that I'm actually looking at the speech bubble, Katarina doesn't say the world. Augur does. I thought they said it at the same time, but actually, using my giant tablet, I could zoom in, and yeah, Augur's the only one that says it, but Katarina's there, like, you know, she would have said it as well. So, what was Rox's ultimate goal? To become king of the world. To claim the world. Which makes me think Rox might have been a descendant of, well, he did have the will of D, so he would have descended from the clan of D. Rox knows about the Gorosei. He probably knew about their true forms, and he also probably knew about Eam. And when we see Eam looking at the wanted posters, Eam did cut up Luffy's and Blackbeard's. So maybe Eam is aware that Rox knew that Eam existed, and now Blackbeard is Rox's son, and they all kind of know about this. So it's not like a mystery, or it's not like Augur and Katarina are shocked to see that, oh no, one of the Gorosei are here? They can turn into giant spiders? What is this? Like, Teach probably knew about this, because Rox probably knew about this. Maybe Rox had a journal or a captain's journal, like log or something, and then Blackbeard got that and read through it or something. His ship is called the Saber Zebek, so there's obviously a connection here. And then so Teach knew about this, and then he told his crew about this, like, yeah, say ha ha ha. The 5 elders don't really rule the world. There's this guy named Eam who's like an immortal being. And Rox's goal, my dad, was to kill Eam and sit on the empty throne and become king of the world. Like, that was the idea, right? So, if Rox is dead, sure, that solves that problem, but also Saturn might be aware that his son is out there doing shit now, and so he's like, I don't have... crap. You know, it's like there's all this stuff going on at once, right? It also is a good parallel between Blackbeard and Luffy here. Because Luffy is very much following in the inherited will of Joy Boy. I don't think Luffy is directly blood related to Joy Boy. You know, he's not related to Roger. He's not related to Shanks. Luffy's actual father, Dragon, yeah, he's kind of following in his footsteps a little bit, but not exactly. Like, Dragon wants freedom for the world. The Sun God wants freedom for the world, but they're going about it in different ways. It could be a parallel to that, where Blackbeard is following in not just the inherited will from somebody that bears like a resemblance, but like the actual inherited will from his blood, from his father, who could be Roxy Zebek, and Zebek wanted to rule the world, so Blackbeard wants to actually fulfill his dream and actually carry it out the whole way. Could be something like that, which would be a nice parallel. So that's that. Augur and Katarina warp away. Saturn is just there in the rubble, and he kind of looks to the side, so he's probably going to head back to the battlefield in a moment here. Probably go deal with Luffy, and then Sanji will be fighting Kizaru. So the last scene of the chapter, this chapter is like, it ties up the whole Blackbeard and the Caribou side plots pretty quickly, actually, in like less than a page, and all things considered. Well, anyway, they warp away, but they didn't get off the island. In fact, Katarina even brings up, like, Augur, what the hell? We're still on the island. Couldn't you have warped us away to the ship or something, or out to sea? And Augur's like, I haven't mastered the power yet. So the implication is maybe the warp fruit does have the power to warp you, like, wherever you want, but you have to really get a handle of the ability. So Augur can warp maybe anywhere he could see, or maybe within a fixed range, but he does indicate that when he trains with it, and maybe possibly awakens it, like if he awakens the warp fruit, I can't imagine him not having the ability to just warp anywhere in the planet. You know, maybe not anywhere on the planet, but like a good range. Like if he wants to go from island to island, he could probably easily do that when he trains with the fruit. So that's a good thing Oda referenced that there. Well, anyway, they're walking away to the ship, and Caribou approaches them like, wait a minute. and so he shows up. A lot of people I've seen compared him to Bartolomeo, where Bartolomeo is a fanboy of Luffy, Caribou is a fanboy of Blackbeard, of their crew, okay? And he even says, like, my name's, excuse me, sorry, Miss Katarina, Mr. Augur, my name is Caribou, and I became a pirate because of Blackbeard. I love his style, and I've always wanted to meet him, and I get his autograph, and I've always dreamed of being on his crew, and it's like, I was wondering, can you take me with you, please? These Straw Hats are a pain in the ass. They stole my heart. They locked me in a barrel like 3 times. Can you do that? You know, and so he's just blabbering and crying and stuff. So I'm glad they referenced Caribou finally. Now, he doesn't bring anything up directly, but dude, I'm telling you what, it could be a thing where Augur and Katarina, if Oda continues with this in the next chapter, it doesn't have to be long, but it could just be a moment where Augur's and Katarina, they're looking at Caribou and they're like, the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Get away from us. No. And then Caribou would be like, wait, no, you don't understand. I know things about the ancient weapons. Yeah, I was at Fishman Island, and I overheard some shit going on with Poseidon, and I know about that, and then I was also at Wano, and I heard some stuff about Pluton. I got some hot news, you know? And so that's when Katarina and Augur are gonna be like, and then, you know, they'll probably like tie up Caribou and bring him back with them to meet Blackbeard. So this is kind of where all that has been leading. Caribou's brought it up before, like, ooh, that person would love to hear about this information about Poseidon. You know, it wasn't that Caribou was working for Blackbeard or working for anybody. It's just that he really admired Blackbeard in the same way Bartolomeo admires Luffy and the Straw Hats. So probably Caribou was like, ooh, if I ever run into Blackbeard, or if I ever run into one of his captains, I have some information that they might let me join their crew over. So that was the whole idea there. So I also don't think Caribou was the one that gave Luffy the food or rolled Luffy over to the vending machine. So, you know, there's that. But dude, I was really surprised about this. I honestly was, because like, the Blackbeard Pirates being there was referenced and also tied up in the same chapter, and the stuff with Caribou was tied up, because Caribou has been on this crazy adventure since Fishman Island, since the time skip, really. We first met Caribou at the Return to Sabaody arc, and that was well over a decade ago, like 14 years ago almost, and every arc, I guess not every arc, but like a lot of arcs in the New World, it's been like Caribou's in the background, either in the actual arc itself or in a cover story, or he was in the prison at Wano and now he's here, and it's like, that's all leading somewhere. Oda's not just going to disregard this character. He has information about 2 ancient weapons. Maybe he knows stuff about Uranos too, who knows, right? He might have information on all 3 of them, right? And so with that being said, at least he knows the name of the 3 of them, because he was there during Neptune and Robin's like conversation, right? So it's going to be a thing where Caribou, up until this point, has just been kind of a nuisance to the Straw Hats. Like, they can beat him no problem. They're not really worried about him. But now they let him get away. It kind of brings up the idea of, like, in all honesty, you should have killed this guy a long time ago. Now, granted, the Straw Hats did not know he was spying on them and he knows shit about the ancient weapons and stuff. They don't know that. But you should have killed Caribou a long time ago. That would have solved the problem right there. And there were so many opportunities to take care of this guy, okay? Like, at Fishman Island, you know, you could have, like, when he was captured trying to, like, steal all the treasure from the vault and then taking the mermaids. Like, Jinbei had the whole thing where he beat the crap out of him and brought him off the island. He brought him over to the Marines, and the G5 Marines almost burned him alive, but he got away. So, you know, you could have solved this problem. Like Drake could have killed him. Then they get to Wano, and it's like you could have taken care of him there, and now he said they could have taken care of him after, and it's here, and it's like, okay, you guys chose not to, like, you guys chose to let this guy live at every single avenue, even though he's a squirrely fuck, and he has this goopy Logia power, and he's going to escape somehow, and he has some information that can mess you guys up. You're just going to keep letting him live, and it's like, okay, well, here we go. Now it's going to be some problems now, okay? So we'll see where this goes. I know the Straw Hats. I'm not really saying, like, oh, yeah, Zoro should have taken Caribou. Like, no, we can't trust him. You know, because that's not how the Straw Hats do things. Oda would not draw that. Oda would not draw an execution chapter where, like, remember that episode of The Walking Dead in season 2, Judge, Jury, and Executioner back in the early days of The Walking Dead, where they captured that guy, and they had a whole episode talking about, like, what's the right thing to do here. He knows where we're at, so we can let him go, but then he'll find us, and he could bring more people to, like, kill us and turn us into zombies and shit. Like, what are we gonna do? And it's like, we don't know what to do, and it's like this whole moral dilemma. I don't see Oda doing that. I don't see Oda having a whole chapter of all the Strides getting together in the dining room on the Sunny. Like, what are we gonna do about this caribou situation? Like, I don't think, like, and they finally decide, like, all right, Zoro, you're the one to do it. I'm like, all right, he walks out with a sword. You know, I don't see him doing that, but, like, you should have. Like, if it's logical, you should have taken care of him by now. But anyway, that's the chapter. Hope you guys all enjoyed. No break next week, and also there's going to be a big color spread for the chapter, and it's going to be on the cover of Shonen Jump too. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, we're going to see where this ties back, if we're going to go to the Saturn fight, or Vegapunk's going to be saved, or we'll cut back to the Blackbeard crew to see what they're up to, or the plan to stop the Sunny, or Zoro and Lucci's fight. A lot of stuff going on in this chapter, and so I think we're noticing where Oda's starting to wrap up a lot of the loose ends. So we're going to be maybe moving toward the ends of Egghead here in the next few months. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Teching, signing out.